Hey everyone, this is Linda Johnson from BrewNymph.com coming at you with a double edition of Let's Get a Beer, Florida. And this is February 24th weekend through March 2nd weekend. Got a lot to talk about, a lot of events, a lot of news, and I'll be doing something different a little bit next weekend, which is why this edition is a double edition. So let's get ready and let's get into it. You can see I have some beer glasses already filled up right here. All right, we're here with a look at Florida brewery news, beer fest and special brewery event info, highlighting local happenings around Jax Beach, St. Augustine for the upcoming couple of weeks right into March. So this is the last weekend of February. So let's party like it's the last weekend of February, right? All right. First, we're going to do a quick recap. I went to South Florida a few weeks ago, back-to-back weekends there, hit a couple of new breweries that just opened in December, that being Matthews Brewing and West Palm Beach Brewery and Wine Vault. I wrote about Matthews Brewing a couple weeks ago, and I just added the brewery recap story on BrewNymph.com, West Palm Beach Brewery and Wine Vault. Both of these are go-tos if you're down in South Florida. Check them both out. I guarantee you will love both of them. And so take a look at the recaps on the website. And if you happen to get there, let me know what you think. I'd be interested, but I'm pretty sure you're going to love both of them. So congratulations to both of those guys. Like I said, they just opened in December, and you couldn't tell on either one of them. They looked like they had been up and running for quite some time. So put those on your itineraries. All right, word came out recently via media of another new brewery opening in Jax for 2018, that being Tabula Rasa Brewing in the downtown warehouse area. So we'll stay tuned for updates and progress on those guys and see how that goes. So we have to do a head count on how many are in the works right now. I think it's something like 7, possibly 8 that we know of. And I do know of one more that has not even been publicized yet. So anyway, we'll be looking forward to all of those. Other news around the Jax area for right now, and also some Tampa. Tampa Bay Brewing Company, as you know, held its launch in Jacksonville this past week with a few launch events. I had a story on that a week ago. I was in the northern part of Florida this past week for a few days, doing some nature things and kind of taking a few days off, more or less. And I did find the Tampa Bay Brewing Kumquat Golden Ale up there while I was there. Had a cool picture on social media about that. So I was happy to see that. Hadn't had that beer in probably well over a year. So that was a nice, refreshing one. And welcome to Jax, Tampa Bay Brewing Company. We'll be seeing a lot more of you guys. No more searching for Reef Donkey Pale Ale, by the way, now that it'll be right up here. So that's some pretty good news also. Also, I reported a few weeks ago some launch events coming up for Walking Tree Brewery out of Vero, and those will start to happen March 2nd with events at Salty Pelican and PJD's Beer and Wine Garden in Fernandina Beach, where I just was. So take a look at those if you're up in that area. Check them out. You guys are going to love Walking Tree. Again, I've got some stories on the site about that. And by the way, I just did spend those couple of days up there in Fernandina. I went to PJD's, which is Pajama Dave's, by the way, and yeah, the owner was in pajamas. Have a pretty cool picture with the owners on Instagram and social media sites with those guys up there. Very cool, little tiny place. Very, very cool trees around and stuff. And also I went to Amelia Tavern in downtown Fernandina Beach, which was also very, very nice. I went there twice actually. Had a great couple of times visiting there. So if you're up that way, get over there. All right, other news, Old Coast Ales in St. Augustine recently reported that it had been nominated for the USA Today 10 Best Awards and in the new brewery category. Apparently USA Today is doing a whole series of polls about beer and beer fest events and breweries. So one of the categories was Best New Brewery, and Old Coast Ales is on that list. So if you have been to Old Coast Ales, Give them a vote. Pretty cool place. I did an interview with those guys a couple weeks ago, right ahead of their anniversary. So that was some news. I haven't looked at everything on that USA Today 10 Best, but I think there are a couple of other Florida events or other Florida businesses on there. So take a look at that, and I'm going to look into it a little further and put some links up on my site as well. But just so you're aware of that, that's out there. And congrats to Old Coast Ale's pretty cool nomination. The big news around Jacksonville, okay? We're talking beer fest events and more right now. The big news around Jacksonville, of course, is Riverside Craft Beer Fest on Saturday, February 24th. I have a preview story on the site and a look back at last year. I've been to this fest a few years. I'll be there again on Saturday, that being tomorrow, February 24th. So find me and say hi. I love that stuff, okay? And that's a pretty big beer fest, the first major fest of the year in Jacksonville. The whole town is just abuzz about that. And you'll be able to sample some beers from new breweries in planning, Legacy Ale Works, who I did a Q&A with last summer on the site, and new brewery Fishweir Brewing, who will be coming into the Murray Hill area in 2018. The info for the Beer Fest is over 90 breweries, including a bunch from Florida. So if there are Florida breweries you haven't heard of yet, this might be a good chance to do that. So see you Saturday. Also, looking ahead, as you know, I have 2 events calendars on the site. One is Beer Fest and special events. The other one is pretty much Jack's Beach, St. Augustine local. So take a look at those, updated all the time. But first of all, we're going to look into the Beer Fest info happening around the state so that you can plan beer trips and things ahead of time. I'm recording this on Friday, February 23rd, so we're starting off with Saturday, February 24th. Fort Myers Brewing has its 5th anniversary bash. I was there a couple of years ago. They were doing some construction of their tap room. Now, I haven't been back since, and I need to get back down to Southwest Florida. A lot going on down there, but it's Fort Myers Brewing with its 5th anniversary, and they're also some medal winning beers there too. So if you're in Southwest Florida, congrats to Fort Myers, and I'll get down there one of these days. Proof Brewing up in Tallahassee with its Winter Fest on February 24th, rescheduled from a couple weeks ago. Looks like a load of family fun, lots of beer, and just a good old time at Proof Brewing. If you haven't been to Proof Brewing, I hate to call it the new Proof Brewing because it's been there, Railroad Square already. Take a look at my story from Tap Invitational last September. I have a lot of photos about it there. Very, very nice place. And of course, we all know the beer is great, so you guys will want to check that out if you're up in Tallahassee, or make a road trip out of it sometime. Also, down in South Florida, covering all ends of the state this time around, MIA Beer Company in Miami with an anniversary party down there. You guys gotta love all the colorful coasters and things that they do anytime they have a beer fest. Bright colors everywhere, very Miami-ish. So anyway, congratulations to MIA Beer Company as well. Of course, Riverside Craft Beer Fest that I mentioned, and again, last weekend in February. So we're heading into March, okay? Going right into March. And we've got the big one, guys. The big one is coming up, that being Tampa Bay Beer Week, starting technically March 3rd, running through March 11th. And there is a kickoff event on Friday night, March 2nd at Brewbus Brewing, that being the Ultimate Brewer Competition. There are some also other events going on that Friday night, some tappings and some other single beer events going on. But the Ultimate Brewer is kind of the kickoff to the Tampa Bay Beer Week. Crazy, crazy event. They have already picked ingredients that they had to brew a beer with. So all of these Tampa area breweries have to brew the beer with those ingredients. Some crazy things. Last year, I mean, garlic, cucumber, wasabi, all kinds of things. So who knows what it'll be this year. And those are also judged. Which one wins the Ultimate Brewer for that time. So looks to be a really interesting event. I have links on my site. Get tickets to those if you're in the Tampa area. Sounds like a lot of fun on Friday night, kicking off Tampa Bay Beer Week. Right into that, on Saturday, March the 3rd, we go into FBG Fest, Florida Brewers Guild Fest. I have a story from last year on BrewNymph.com, and I'll be linking to that on my sidebar on Sunday. It'll be my look back retro story that'll be up all week. I've gone to this fest for the past 5-6 years maybe, so it's a great time right there on the river in downtown Tampa. And they just released today the beer list and the brewery list for FBG Fest. This comes out to 10 pages of events. This is pretty detailed, and over 70 breweries, I believe, is the count. And from the looks of this list, they have anywhere from 3 to maybe 7, 3 to 4, 5. All of these breweries really knocking it out for FBG Fest on Saturday, March the 2nd. So take a look. I have a link to this on the events page on my site. I have a Google Doc that I copied this into. Take a look at that and pick out your favorite ones. And if you're looking for a Tampa beer trip, FBG Fest is one of the best ones, guys. And if you don't believe me, take a look at that recap from last year and see why. Always a lot of fun. And yes, I'll be there, and I'm looking forward to it again. So that is kicking off the first weekend of Tampa Bay Beer Week. Following that, the next day on Sunday, March the 4th, is Best Florida Beer Brewers Ball. Now, you might know that this is the Florida statewide competition, and the breweries already submitted their entries. Judging has already taken place, and at the Brewers Ball on Sunday, March 4th, which is in Waterworks Park in Tampa, they will announce the winners of all of those categories: Best Florida Beer overall, Best Large and Small Brewery, Best Brew Pub, and the individual medal winning beers. So that'll be something to follow on Sunday, March the 4th. The announcements will start around 3:30 in the afternoon. The beer fest gets going around noon, so the announcements will start around 3:30. So those guys already know if they've won medals, and then the category medals will be announced in addition to those name medals. So look forward to that. Also, more, we're talking March now. Naples Craft Beer Fest on March 3rd. That one is sold out in South Florida. Also, heading back to Miami, South Florida Hops Fest in Miami, also on March 3rd. Moving along into the week, annual Fooder for Thought at Green Bench in St. Pete. I have info about that on the site. If you're around St. Pete, take a look at that. And of course, winding up Tampa Bay Beer Week on Saturday, March 10th, a change of venue this year, and probably the best known beer fest in Florida, of course, is Hoona Day, Hoona Poo's Day, where they will release the 2018 version of the Hoona Poo's Imperial Stout. This is my, as of yet, unopened bottle from 2017. I have a couple of these around in my house. So big beer fest on Saturday, March 10th. And if you don't have tickets yet, I think you can still get them. And I went last year. I was the Hoona Day Virgin last year. Story about it on the site. So take a look at that. Again, change of venue this year. It'll be at the Raymond James Stadium in a parking lot. So we'll see how that works. But it's looking to be even bigger and better than last year. So we've got all these events happening around Florida. We're going to change some gears right now and go into the Jacksonville local highlights. And again, separate page on the site for this, but we could call this All Jaxed Up. I started doing that a few weeks ago, and I think it's kind of cool. We're talking all Jacksonville area. So here we go. We've got some events coming up. Starting with February 24th, we have some barrel-aged stouts being tapped at Hoptinger Jack's Beach. Also, Southern Swells, and they're gonna get a double thing here with a double can release on the 24th. Comfy Jeans Pale Ale, and these strawberries taste like strawberries with vanilla and lactose. Those will be on draft and in cans on Saturday the 24th. So another bottle release from Southern Swells. I know those are hugely popular in the Jacksonville area. Veterans United is hosting a Hops and Hounds fundraiser also on February 24th. There will be a new tapping and a memorial beer tapping at Green Room in Jacks Beach on the 24th. Info about that on the site. Bold City in the main brewery in Jacksonville with Doggy Gras fundraiser on Saturday night, the 24th. So take a look at that. And looking ahead into the week, on Tuesday, February 27th, the monthly Dogs for Dogs charity night at Brews and Dogs in St. Augustine. They do this every month. They feature a Florida brewery. They donate events to a selected animal-related charity. This month, it's Swamp Haven Rescue, and the brewery is Three Daughters Brewing out of St. Pete. That'll be Tuesday, the 27th. Heading a little further up into the week, Friday, March the 2nd, beer release at Hyperion. This is featuring a beer that was brewed through their Brew with the Brewer program that you can sign up to do. So that's another beer on Friday, March 2nd, they'll be tapping. First Fridays with Jack's Mom Blog at Engine 15 downtown. Wednesday, March 7th, Girl Scout cookie pairings at Dahlia's. Girl Scout time, right? I have a couple boxes here in the house. And yeah, I still haven't gone through all those cookies yet. Thursday, March 8th is International Women's Collaboration Brew Day. So you're going to be seeing some things around through your social media feeds, I'm sure, about women and the women-owned breweries and things of that nature. So that's kind of a neat thing. I know that there's a huge movement to get women more involved in the beer, brewing, and breweries. We have some owners in the Florida area, Jacksonville included, so that's a nice thing to see. There also will be a female beer fest down in Fort Lauderdale at the end of March. I have information on that on my site as well. Friday, March 9th, beer and cupcakes at Veterans United. All right. And Saturday, March 10th, Bog Brewing in St. Augustine with its second year anniversary. They'll be doing another bottle release, and we don't know what it is yet. I don't think they've said. And there will be a free cookout. That'll be on Saturday, March 10th. There's also Celtic Fest in St. Augustine the weekend of March 9th to 11th. If you're into Highland games and watching the kilts, there'll be a parade in downtown St. Augustine and lots of fun all the way around there. I want to point out that there are also some beer dinners on the way, so get your tickets because these do tend to sell out. On March 15th, Publix Aprons Cooking School with a beer dinner at its store in Mandarin on San Jose Boulevard will be featuring two breweries, Ancient City Brewing and Veterans United. That's on March 15th. I have the link to tickets on the site. March 24th, Atlantic Beach Brewing hosting another beer dinner. The last one sold out. This one will be featuring seafood dishes and beers that go along with seafood dishes, and they'll be tapping a new beer just that night as well. That's at Atlantic Beach on the 24th. March 26th, beer dinner at Wicked Barley includes a bottle of the new beer that will be released on March 31st. It's called Let It Enfold You. We talked about that a couple weeks ago in the video when I did the interview with Phil from Wicked Barley. We talked about that beer and why it's named what it is. But if you sign up for that beer dinner, you'll be getting a sneak peek at that beer ahead of the bottle release later in the week. Heads up for all you homebrewers. GastroFest Jacks, March 24th, has a homebrewing competition. Sign up for that. It will be at River City Brewing, the homebrew competition part. Get your entries in. It's a very limited number. I was a judge there a few years, so we'd like to see a little bit more get into that. And that's pretty much it for now. We then head into St. Patrick's Day. I'm already starting to see some dedicated St. Patty's Day events start to come in. I have those on the site as they show up. And that's pretty much it for now. See you with a beer around Florida somewhere. I'll be doing something a little bit different next week, so there won't be a dedicated Let's Get a Beer Florida video next week. But in 2 weeks, I'll be back with one, okay? So stay tuned next week. I'll be coming. I'm going to try something a little different on site. So anyway, that's it for now. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy the Florida beer, and let's get a beer, Florida.